Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Lili Nishmasim Mordechai. Question: how is it possible you have two people on two opposite places on earth, yet they're in the same place? You have like this. You have Ami Waldman at the Koisel Ma'arovi. What's the opposite of that? Now, at a ball game, at a Rangers game, a hockey game. Now, I'm not putting him down or anything because I used to have season tickets to the Bulls. Actually, I think this is more chashuv. But they're both learning Torah. Their head is in the same spot. To learn at a game is a lot more difficult than to learn at the Koisel. So I give this guy more props than Ami, who I love dearly. He's my son's friend. Boisai, Gad Elbaz, joining 8-minute daf. He's gone to Chevra. Whoa. Who's that? Akiva, the bar mitzvah boy. I got a video from Snippet, the guy from Lakewood. I don't know, it's a video, so I didn't. He also does daf. And at the same day, Emmanuel the barber, Noam Fix, goes into the barber shop and he sees his barber learning. I don't think he had him turn it on. He actually learns every single day. So Rabbi said the barbers, if you're a barber and if you sell diamonds, whatever, you should start giving out mayit cottons. Get a pile of mayit cottons and do what Refuah the barber does. Emmanuel the barber, where's your sign? Snippet barber in Lakewood, where's yours? Oh, you're gonna love this one.
You gotta give the barbers numbers like Hatsala.
Barber? No. We don't give them numbers. There's the barber of Brooklyn, there's the barber of Lakewood, and then there's the barber of Queens. Each Shmelka from Nicholsburg. Rebellion between you and Dr. Henry Abramson, Yehuda Geber, and David Bashevkin might as well be from again. I grew up more or less average Hasidish kid, spent some time in Stanford Yeshiva in Israel, got married at 18, then discovered the public library and left it all. That was years ago. Dozens of podcasts I listen to now. Yours I look forward to the most. Who cares if I buy into it at all? I feel like I'm at a Geschmack Shir. I love it from an historical perspective. I love the anonymous camaraderie. I love learning, and above all, I love your style. I used to be proud, choyte umachti, but now I keep my averis to myself and go about my business. I hope you don't take this the wrong way. I'm not writing this to bring you down, fakert. I'm writing to tell you I love and appreciate Gemara like never before. I find myself peppering my everyday sprach with yeshiva charade all the time. P.S. I appreciate your taste for the wilder things in life, your willingness to share, showing Erlich Yidden don't have to be boring clones. When I left Yiddishkeit, my first stop was the U.S. Army, where I spent 5 years jumping out of planes. Shmelka of Nicholsburg. Barry Shushkin. What? You're in a league of your own. You make learning like candy. You're so real, you're amazing. You're making a real problem. Listen, this was written to Nachman Sals. I just erased his name, put my name in there. For Klal Yisrael, as now, there's no excuse not to learn. Oh, listen to this. This is a good one. There's a problem, he says. You're making a real problem. For Klal Yisrael, there's no excuse not to learn, as it's so much fun and geschmack, and then you can brech after that. Zach Burek. After spending 3 weeks home in quarantine early in this month, my 4-year-old son Effie has become obsessed. Yesterday we have a 5-year-old, now we have a 4-year-old. Baruch Hashem, we're reaching the little children, the 4-year-olds and the 5-year-olds. He wakes up in the morning and has to do the daf. He comes home from school and has to learn the daf. We drive in the kitzer. His favorite song is Kiner Mitzvah V'Torah. He goes around telling his teachers and family that he does the Daf Yomi and that I got to do the daf. He's your biggest fan. Now you just have to wait until he's old enough to understand what he's listening to. Zach Burek, Teaneck, New Jersey. The Paras HaChodesh for the Koilel is Chaim. I have to remember when to switch that date. I hope Yosef reminds me. Yehusha, Aryeh, Leyb, הכהן, Ben Yonis, and Chayim, zechus Levrocha. Maseches Megillah, sponsored by the Davis and Kessler families in zechus, Refuah, shleima for Miriam Esther, Devora. Maseches Megillah, sponsored by Shmuly, Hecht, F245. The Yehusha, Mordechki, Shalom, פינחס, טוביה, zechus Levrocha, Ben Abraham, Moshe Peretz, Neri Yar, neshoma have an Aliyah. Paras HaChodesh, in honor of RL97, Akiva for introducing me to Rebelli's Daf. Paras Achoidish, Daniel and Cyril Koi, zechus, Refuah shleima for Gabriel ben Yamin ben Cyril Fruma. Lila Nishmas, Aliyah Sarah Bas, Mordechai Aliyah Shalom, by Nisim Akilov, in honor of all the guests who are coming over this Shabbat. In memory of Mordechai ben Penina, by his sister Tamara Weingarten, his neshoma should have an Aliyah. In memory of Rabba Bar Chana and the golden doves from Maseches Brachos Daf Gimel Amud Beis. The shidduch of our daughter Shifi to Saadia Schneider from Wickliffe, Ohio. That, of course, is, anybody know what that is? Official. Official is a big golden dove. Now, for those who don't know, so I'll say over the story real quickly because you have a minute or two. Maseches Brachos Daf Gimel brings a story about Rabbi Bar Chana, that he was on a trip in a caravan and he ate bread. He forgot to bench, and they started traveling away. And he realized he forgot to bench, and he said to himself, "What should I do? If I tell the bus driver stop after bench, the guy will think I'm a sugar, so just bench on the bus." And so he lied, and he told the guy over there in charge. He said, "Listen, I left a golden dove. I left a piece of gold behind." "Oh, gold! It's different than benching." They stopped the bus. He got off. He benched, and sure enough, he found a golden dove. So he gained. In other words, he was embarrassing. Where's your golden dove? He stopped to get your golden dove. Oh, Hashem gave him a golden dove. She walks out of there with a $250,000 gift. So I tied it then. I should look it up. Daf Gimel Amud Beis said it much better then. I'm saying it very quickly. I said, did anybody ever find the golden dove? In other words, is it possible? Has it ever happened to anybody that somebody's in bed? Shalom Aleichem, Menachem Ater Boys, a big round of applause. Menachem Ater's bag. It's huge. Woo! Wow. 800 days ago, he said a share for me, and I'm holding it. It just keeps on going. Okay, he used to be the Magid Shir, the whatever, the alternate Magid Shir. So he hasn't been here for a good month or so. B'kitzur, the question was, has anybody ever been in bed at 12 o'clock at night, mamish all cuddled up, ready to go to sleep, and then you realize you didn't daven Ma'ariv, and you have this debate, she daven not, you could pretend to your wife, you start mumbling under the covers, Ma'ariv, and she said, "What are you doing?" You say, "No, just in Kriya Shema, a longer version," and you go weiter, Shemona Esrei, of course, in bed, and you go like this, or you could get up and put on your pajamas and go to shul. And as you're going to shul, you trip over a golden dove. Has it ever happened to anybody? And everybody says no. And I said, it happened to me. Yeah, sure. It happened to me, and it happened to you, and to you, and to you, and to every single one. What's pshat? Because sometimes you do a mitzvah like that, and you don't realize you're not like Rabbi Bar Chana that gets the golden dove on the spot. But your daughter gets engaged to a geshmaki guy, an unbelievable guy. Or you get to flip a house, I said. So, Official took that. That's his thing. He talks about it all the time. His golden dove. He does chesed, and all of a sudden he trips over golden doves all the time. So I want to share with you, just yesterday. So he says, this is today, golden dove. His daughter got engaged. It's a tremendous simcha by them. Here it is. The shidduch of our daughter, Shifi to Saadia Schneider from Wickliffe, Ohio. Mazel tov.
By the way, we left off yesterday by Gufa Amar Rabba Bar Chana.
Oh, that's where we are. Very good. We left off by Rabbi Bar Chana. Now listen to this, it's also interesting. Yesterday afternoon, 2:42 p.m., I get a text from Moshe Koenig. He's an Israeli younger man in Kailo. He does the daf with us. He speaks a very good English. He's Meir Koenig's son, whoever knows him from the neighborhood. And he goes like this, Al Timnat Tovim Ba'alav. Here it is, yesterday. Right here. I'll just read it to you. He says, well, you have to give back to the owner. So yesterday, at 12:20 a.m., I got into bed with my pajama after a very long and tiring day, and then I realized I didn't daven Ma'ariv. I knew that there's a minyan at 12:30 in the shul next to my house, and it was a tremendous hitlaptut, a debate. I had a big debate in my head. Because you said that story 2 years ago in Maseches Brachos Daf Gimel, I got up, got dressed, and went to shul. And he says he was number 10 of the minyan. There wasn't a minyan without him. Beautiful, 2 people. And now we are starting Rabbi Isai from Rabba Bar Chana Gufa. You want to show the video here? Rabbi Isai is a Leyv Torah. It's a bunch of guys, 50 guys from Leyv Torah. Here's one guy here. Get over here while we show the video. 50 guys do the daf with us because I went to speak to them. They're here. And they were on a trip. Were you on that trip? Here, take a look at the screen. They're in a Bedouin. Who's the guy in the white hat? He looked. Play it again. Play it again. The guy in the white hat is Givaldic. He gets all excited by the Okay, Shkoyach, thanks for coming. Anyways, they're in a Bedouin tent on a trip, and they're playing this massive screen. The whole yeshiva is sitting. It's beautiful, beautiful. I don't know the whole yeshiva, but the guys that are doing the daf. All right, Gufa, Amar Rabbi Baruchano, Daf Yud Ches Amud Beis, Daf Amud Beis, 11 lines from the bottom. Omar Rabbi Baruchano. I'm telling you right now, official didn't know that Rabbi Baruchano was in here. I think it's a coincidence because he always talks about the golden dove, but here there's no coincidence in his life. Huh? That alone is a golden dove. That itself. You trip over things you don't realize in life. You get Kosh Baruch Hu pays back. We just learned yesterday that when you're writing a Megillah, you can't say, oh, I know this by heart. I'm a great Balkoira, I know it. You have to read it and then write it. He went to some, I don't know, to the lost tribes in China somewhere. And he goes over there, and there's no Megillah. He remembered it and he wrote it. You look straightforward. The Gemara is going to explain that. Before I forget, there is a Goyz V'Tziyunim, I think it is, or the Gillian, one of these on the side, Gillian Shas, he says. Gillian Shas, Shani Meir, and he says, be ma'ayin that there was 2 Megillas there. There was one he wrote Bal Peh, just to explain the Gemara, it's a different shita. He wrote one Bal Peh, which was no good, garbage, not garbage, gniza. And then from the one that he wrote the second one. So the one that he read from was written off of one that was already written. He didn't use the original that was Bal Peh, because that's no good. He wrote an original that he didn't use. He put that in Gniza after he wrote the second one. That's what it says in Gillian Hashas. Look on the side. I'll go upon him. But if you don't learn like that, the question is, how did he do it? Reb Meir is different. That what? Your eyes look straightforward. What does it mean? This is referring to Torah. You're just going to blink for a second. If you don't do chazara, you just blink and you forget it all. You have to be on top of learning. Rebbe Meir, he knew Kol HaTorah Kul Bal Peh, but he knew it in a way that was mamish on your heart. They asked, this is a famous story, they asked Reb Chaim Volozhin, the father of all yeshivas, they asked him, what is the difference between your brother Reb Zalman, who knew Kol HaTorah Kul Bal Peh, and the Vilna Gaon, your Rebbe? Famous story. And he explained, Reb Chaim Volozhin explained, he says, my brother Reb Zalman knows Kol HaTorah, he knows Shas by heart. Ask him anything, he'll do like the Bel Zachasim. There's a difference between somebody that knows Ashrei by heart, which we all do, and saying Ashrei backwards. The Vilna Gaon could say the entire Torah backwards and forwards. From wherever you start, Ashrei start, try to say Ashrei backwards, one pasuk. It's almost impossible. It takes a lot of time. If you read it, if you know Torah like that, it's Chor Zaliboy, like Reb Meir, then you could write a Megillah. Rav Chizda Ashkechel Rav Chananel Dahave Kosav Svarim Shloim and Aksav. He bumped in to Rav Chananel who was writing it, Bal Peh, Omar Lei, and Rabbi said, you could see from here how you give a guy Musar. How do you give Musar? He tells him, Ru'uya Kol HaTorah Kula L'Kosav Al-Picha. In psychology, they call it a sandwich. There's not such a sandwich, but when you want to give a kid Musar, you want to give a student Musar, you want to give an employee. I've done this many times. I hope my employees are not watching. You start off, oh, you're such a great employee. It's unbelievable. When it comes to this area, let's try to fix that. And you're unbelievable. You sandwich. You say a shvach and a shvach in the middle. You give a good geschmack, a shtochi musar. But because you cover from both sides with geschmackheit, it goes. If you start, you go to the guy. You're such a bad guy. Why did you do that? It doesn't go in. Start off. Okay. Zok the Gemara. So what did he say? You're a guy in the olam. You know Kol HaTorah Kula Bal Peh. You're unbelievable. But by the way, what you're doing is not proper. Also, you're not allowed to write anything that's not written. Because he said that, obviously, he knew the entire Torah by heart. Oh, but Reb Meir Kosav. But what's the difference between him and Reb Meir? They both knew by heart. Reb Meir was in Asia, and he didn't have a Megillah. So then, therefore, we allowed him to do it. Abaye said, Barchava, Rashi says, they were merchants of tefillin, they sold tefillin, he sold tefillin, yeah. So he said, tefillin mezuzahs you could write, even though it's balpeh. Kiman kaitana, the Tanya Rabbi Miriam Mishum Rabbeinu, l'chayr Rabbeinu is Rabbi HaKadosh, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, because it's a Tana over here, Rabbi Yirmiyah, not Rav Yirmiyah. It seems like it's not, a lot of times Rabbeinu was Rav, not over here. Tefillin mezuzahs nechtaves shleima aksav, you can write tefillin mezuzahs balpeh, ben tzrichos sirtut, you don't have to do sirtut. What's sirtut? I could open up my Megillah now for a second, but this I think comes out better. You see these lines, these are sirtut. They're engraved lines in the ksav, as we know in the Sefer Torah. If you ever got Aliyah, you notice it. So he holds that tefillin mezuzah does not require sirtut. V'ilchasa tefillin ein tzrichem sirtut. Mezuzah tzrichem sirtut. The Gemara says that mezuzah does need sirtut. But both you could do balpeh. Unlike a Megillah, my taima, and the Gemara gives a reason. Migraz, reason. Everybody knows Shema Yisrael, Shem Elokeinu by balpeh, the mezuzah for sure. Tefillin, if you're a soif, you do it over and over. You get to know balpeh, so you can do it balpeh. If a Megillah was written with sam, with a certain dye, what is it? It's no good. Sam, sama. So Rashi, if you look in Rashi over here, what does sama mean? He says, or piment. And it's actually in English also, or piment. And this is orpiment. You take this, you crush it, and you can make a dye. This is puzzle. Sikra, Amar Rabbi Ravachana, again Rabbi Ravachana. Wow, what a golden dove. Sikarta Shema. Sikarta. Here's Sikra. In English, I don't know how to pronounce it, vermilion, something like that. Okay. It's a red dye. Kaimais. Chayma. Mishnah is talking about sap. Sarafilon says Rashi from a tree. Kankantoim. Charto dush kofe. I have it here. This stuff. This is black shoe polish. You can't, it's too strong. It doesn't come off. You need something that you'll be able to be moichek. And it doesn't come off. Charto dush kofe. Diftera. If you write it on a parchment called diftera, the meliach v'kamiach, you did part of the process. You salted it, kamiach v'lo afetz, but you didn't use afetz. Here's afetz. Afetz in English is golnut. If you don't do this, then it's not a kosher klaf. No, klaf. Niyar. What's niyar? A paper. Mechaka. So I don't know if this is it, but this is just for so you take a bunch of like grass and you glue it together. Rabbi Schoenberg, am I somewhere on target? Reeds. How do you take reeds? Okay, reeds. That's not what Rashi says. Minasavim Rashi says. Reeds. No, grassy, like little thinner. Reeds is thicker, I would think. Okay, whatever. I don't argue with Rabbi Schoenberg when it comes to these things. Atik shek suva ashuris, it has to be written in Lashon HaKodesh d'chsiv. Kichsavam, like our language, uchizmanon. Ala sefer b'diyoy menolan. It has to be with ink and on the klaf. Asyo ksiva, we have gzer shava. Ksiv hacha. I guess it goes back to that. The Megillah is the Rabbanon, so it's not a real gzer shava of a doiraisa, but it's a good. How do you call it? Smuchen, asmachta. Thank you. As ksiva hacha v'atichtoy v'eser amalko. Uksiv, it says in the Megillah v'atichtoy. Uksiv hasam v'yom them baruch mepi v'yikro Eli is called Devora me'elo v'nikoysev ala sefer b'dyoy. In Yirmiyah it says also ksiva and it's b'dyoy. So Mela, it's bidyoy. The Mishnah is the official Mishnah, the Baal Simcha, and it's sponsored by somebody else. Lahatzlocha Ruchni for Shimshon, David, Lipa, and Yosef Yehuda, and Yeshua, the sons of Yehuda's Bela. Trying to save a few seconds over there. Not to say Yehuda's Bela every kid. Good. Says the Elegant Mishnah. Benir. So we have to remember the first Mishnah in Megillah discussed three different areas. You have a walled city, and we call that a krach. We have a city like Bet Shemesh, unwalled, but it's a city. And you have the walled city we call Yerushalayim. You have a kfar, a small village. And we said, if you remember, The kfar, because they bring water and food to the big city, we're nice to them and we say, you don't have to come special to your Kriyas Megillah. So let's say Purim is over here on a Wednesday. They could listen on Yom HaKnisa, on the day that the Bezdin resides in the city, on Mondays or on Thursdays. We give them a special dispensation. Fine. Says the Mishnah, Ben Ir, Shahalach Likrach. It happens over here in Bet Shemesh every year, and it happens in Yerushalayim every year. You have the yeshiva guys that come from Yerushalayim, they come to Bet Shemesh, they want to hang out and do an extra party. And the Yudalid, why not? You have all the Bet Shemesh kids that want to go to Yerushalayim and hang out for Purim over there. Everybody wants a double Purim. So Ben Ir, a Bet Shemesh guy, Shahalach Likrach, and goes to Yerushalayim, Uben Krach Shahalach Le'ir, and Yerushalmi Yeshiva Bach. All Americans that are there are Yerushalmis for this year, Purim. And they come to Bet Shemesh. Im Osid Lachzor L'Mekoymai. The Gemara is going to explain exactly. Is it 30 days? Is it a year? Is it a minute? If he intends to go back to Yerushalayim, he does not read Megillah with everybody else in Bet Shemesh. If he doesn't intend to go back, then he reads with the city that he's at. The Gemara is going to explain immediately what it means. Now, this machlokes we had yesterday. How much do you have to read? You have to read the whole thing. You have to read the entire Megillah. That is about Mordechai. That's from the second perek and the fifth pasuk. So you could skip the whole first perek and 4 psukim. That's where the nay starts. That's the third perek. From the beginning of the third perek, skip the first 2 prakim, no problem. Oh, so we're going to get into everything. Omar Rava. Now, we're talking about a Yerushalmi guy that comes to Bet Shemesh. The bottom line is that it goes by where you're going to be, where you have at least intent to be, the morning of. The main part of the Megillah is the morning. So when you come to Bet Shemesh, according to the Rosh, it's when you leave your Yerushalayim. According to the Rif, it's at night. Where do you have intent to be in the morning? If your intent was to catch a bus back to Yerushalayim and not be in Bet Shemesh in the morning, then you're Yerushalmi. If your intent was to catch a minyan of Shachris in Bet Shemesh, then you're a Bet Shemesh guy. Now, what happens if you got a little drunk? Happens once in a while in Purim. You get a little drunk and you miss your bus. So, amazingly, it depends on what you thought to begin with. According to the Rosh, when you left Yerushalayim, according to the Rif, in the beginning of the night, but it has nothing to do with what you physically happened. If you physically missed your bus and you happen to be in Bet Shemesh in the morning, you don't have to read the Megillah. Chiddush. It's what you intended to be in the morning. But it's all about the morning. And it goes both ways. If I go to Yerushalayim and I intend to be there on the 15th of Adar in the morning, I need to read the Megillah on the 15th, like all Yerushalmim. But if I intend to go back to Bet Shemesh before the morning, then I must read the Megillah when? On the 14th in Yerushalayim. And guess what? There's many minyanim in Yerushalayim that have Megillah reading on the 14th for all these people that have jobs in Yerushalayim and intend to go back to Bet Shemesh. But if you intend to be there in the morning, then you become a Yerushalmi. And if you intend to be in Bet Shemesh in the morning of the Yudal, you become a Bet Shemesh guy. But if you don't intend to go back at night, then you read with everybody else, you become what that city is. Okay, Omar Rava, how do I know this? Listen to this pasuk. Now, where are the Jews from? They live in open cities. What's the next words? Yeah, how's it go, Menachem? Yeah, that's how it goes. They're right. The Olam is right. Everybody remembers. It's unbelievable. We read it once a year, but everybody knows most of the psukim. Very familiar.
Read it twice.
We read it twice. I wouldn't call your reading. It's flying.
Yeah, the other day we were talking about how long is it taking.
No, how long does it take, Taka? I wouldn't go to any other minyan. I don't have pay. 40. I need to sit there. Huh? Yeah, Yosef every day. That's something else. Seriously, how long does it take to read? Yeah. 19 minutes? Really? And you don't go super fast. You could go much quicker if you wanted to. What? He's fast, but not super. He has his chita chadibra is much quicker. I know. He could do much quicker. The guy in the Waldorf, by the way, read a whole parasha for us because the Americans, it was that 1 week that you skip a parasha, you come and whatever. I've never heard a laning in my life. Actually, one Yerushalmi kid once in the shtiba read an entire parasha like in 3 minutes. Unbelievable. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, faster than that. Rabbi Peasant's son also, yeah. Unbelievable. You're all used to it. Oh, sorry. And then it says a second later, you just said that they're from pras. What are you saying? They live in open cities. They sit in open. It already describes who we're talking about. It's literally redundant. Says the Gemara, the paras ben yomer nikar paras. It's two things in the pasuk. It's haYehudim aprazim, the people that live in pras. Then it says something else. Hayoshrim bara aprazos, Yerushalmi people that come and are there overnight. Hayoshrim bara aprazos. They're also considered Bet Shemesh people. That's very good. Ashkecham paros. You're talking about Yerushalmi that comes to Bet Shemesh. Mukav minolam. What about Bet Shemesh guy that goes to Yerushalayim? Says Gemara Svaru. Mid the paros ben yoimikar paros. If you're going to call a Yerushalmi guy that comes to Bet Shemesh and he's there for the morning, you're going to call him a Bet Shemesh guy. So the reverse is also true. Mukav ben yoimikar mukav. So if you're from Bet Shemesh and you go to Yerushalayim and you're there for the morning, you're also considered Yerushalmi. What about a villager? Very interesting halacha. So going back to this guy, the guy's in the village. We gave him a special heter. You can read Megillah 2 days before Purim. Crazy thing, right? 2 days. Nobody was even thinking about Purim way before Tais Esther. He's reading his Megillah. But he happens to be on Purim in the city. You hear the Shiloh? Did we say you have a special heter because we don't want to trouble you to come to the city, but now that you're in the city, you should read it again? Or no, you're ready, he's Yaitza. No, what do you say? The opposite of what you think. He has to read it again, says Rava. Because at the end of the day, his chiyuv is to read it on the 14th like everybody else. We had a whole sugi already. Kedei doesn't mean that he should. Kedei means because he did. Because he was a nice guy, they provide food for everybody. So today on Purim, we're going to be nice to him and say, you don't have to come all the way to the city to your Megillah, read it 2 days earlier. But that's a great heter if he doesn't want to come to the city. That's if he stays in the village and he takes advantage of the loophole in the rule. But today he's like everybody else in the city, and today his real chiyuv is like the city. He has to read it again on the 14th. Ben Karach Shalach Leir, a guy from a walled city from Yerushalayim, who comes to a city like Bet Shemesh, Bengach Koirei Kim Koimai. So it says he has to read it like where he comes from. Now Abaya proves his point. Ben Karach Sokadaitach. It can't be that we're talking about a guy from a walled city. This Bryce is Meshubash. There's a big mistake in the Bryce. So you have to say, Bim Osid Lachzat Aliyah Milsa. At the end of the day, we said that it has to do with when you go back, when you decide to go back. You're going to be there in the morning. You're not going to be there in the morning. You don't read a Megillah based on where you're from. We just learned in the mission. It's not based on where you're from. It's based on where you intend to be the morning of Purim. Elulav ben Kfar. Oh. So it says, so we have to change the word ben Krach to ben Kfar. We have a major problem in the Brisa. We're going to have to change it. Okay, so the Bryce is Meshubash, we say Ben Kfar. And what does it say over here? It says that Ben Kfar reads it wherever he's at. He doesn't have to read it again. If he read it 2 days before Purim, that's enough. Says Gemara, you're very funny. You told me, you admitted that it's a bad Bryce. It's a Bryce that has a major flaw in it. Tani, so once it has flaws, fix whatever you want, any way you want, and just don't prove anything from the Bryce. So now we have a fourth shita that says Balayla Ahu, which is the sixth parak. The sixth parak. That's where it started. Omer Rabbi Yochanan v'kulam mikra echad darshu. Says Rabbi Yochanan, we all got it from the same pasuk. V'atichtav eser malko Mordechai Yehudi is called toikef. So here's the pasuk on top. They both wrote the toikef, the power. Who has the power? So now we have a four-way machlokes. Remeir says the power, Achashverosh had the power. And Memela Achashverosh starts Vayi b'mei Achashverosh. So you do the whole entire Megillah. Rabbi says no. Mordechai has the power. Mordechai starts from Ish Yehudi. That's the first mention of Mordechai. Rabbi Yossi says Haman. He's the guy. He's the main character with the power in the Megillah. You start from Achar Dvar Meil, and that's the 2 words later, Haman. And Rav Shimon Bar Yochai says the power is the nes. That's the fundamental point of the Megillah. Balaylahu. That's where the nes happened. Says the more inside. Man do'amar kula tak v'shalach Achashverosh. Talking about Achashverosh. Uman do'amar mi'ish Yehudi tak v'shal Mordechai. Uman do'amar ma'achar dvar me'ela tak v'shal Haman. Uman do'amar balaylahu tak v'shal nes. Ravuna Omar Mahacha. Umaro Akacha. Umagia Aleihem. It's kind of small, this one. Hopefully you can zoom in a little bit. Here's the pasuk. Maro Alkacha Umahigia Aleihem. What happened that a certain individual acted a certain way? Why did he act that way? Alkacha. Why? And what was the outcome? And for that we have 4 shittas Rabbi Yisai. Let's take Remeir. Why did Achashverosh wear the clothing of the Kohen Gadol? We know the answer. Remember the answer? He miscalculated the 70 years. So Al-Kacha. It's because of the 7 years. What happened? They killed Vashti. Rabbi Yehuda says, why was Mordechai provoking Haman? Kina leHaman. Because Haman made himself Avodah Zarah. So he didn't want to bow. So what happened at the end? There was an ace. Rabbi Yehuda says, why was Haman provoked? Why did he want to kill all the Jews? Because of Mordechai. Mordechai didn't bow to him. So what happened to him at the end? They hung him on a tree. By the way, I got 2. Lייb told me this. I got another email. That picture that had a horizontal beam and all the Hamans, all the kids, that's wrong. Rashi says Mefurish, that was vertical, very good. It was vertical, and they all hung one below the other. It was a great picture, but not accurate. And finally, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, Achashverosh, why did he wake up in the middle of the night and he wanted to go through his book? Maro, what happened that he had to do? Because of Esther, she invited Haman and him to a party. And he's like, what's going on? They probably want to kill me. That whole cheshbon, why do they want to kill me? What did I do wrong? Let me look in the book and let me see if I didn't pay a favor to somebody. What happened? Nes. Now let's see inside Rabbi Yisai. Now it's so simple. Why did Achashverosh wear the Kohen Gadol's clothing? Al Kacha, because of Mishum the Chashiv Shivim Shnim V'lo Yiparok, he made the wrong calculation. And what happened to him? The Gadol Vashti. He killed Vashti. Why did he provoke Haman? Al Kacha, because of the Shavan Avshei Avodah Zarah, because Haman made himself Avodah Zarah. And what happened? The Zechus Nisa, there was a nes. So it's all based on this pasuk. The whole 4-way machlokes is not based on this pasuk of Toikef, but rather on the way that you learn the 3 parts of the pasuk: green, blue, and red. Why do you want to kill everybody? Because of. Because Mordechai is a terrible person, didn't want to bow, and he's from the Jews. I'm going to kill all the Jews. And what happened? They hung everybody. Why did all of a sudden middle of the night decide to read from the book of Zechus? Because she invited him to a party. And what happened? This Saadia Schneider, there was a nes. In the name of Rav. You have to read the entire Megillah. That's what we do. You can't just read from Perek Gimel. You have to have the entire Megillah and you skip forward according to that mandama. A Megillah is called like a Sefer Torah, but it's also like a letter. What does that mean? Psula. I have my Megillah here. Finally, we're learning Maseches Megillah. This is Megillah, of course. I'm a Gronik, so it's based on the Gra. So don't look at the amount of lines. It's much different than everybody else's. But in terms of here, So the tefira is over here. There's the back. You see how they connect the right over here. I don't know if you could see the gidin. Yeah, you could see gid the gid. Over here is the gid. Over here. So just like a Sefer Torah, you tie the parchment together. And if you tie it with flax, it's puzzle. So too, a Megillah. And Rashi points out that it goes according to the Mandam. It says you're not allowed to tie with flax a Sefer Torah. But it's also considered a letter. You just have to do 1, 2, 3. 1 hole, 2 holes, 3 holes. They have to be in like a third. So you go 1/3 down. So let's say this is 12 inches. You go down 3 inches, then another 3 inches, another 3 inches, every 3 inches. So you have a space, then you have 1 hole, another hole every 3 inches, and then it's okay. Omar Rav Yehuda, Omar Shmuly. Hakoyer b'Megillah aksuva min aksuvim lo yatsa. Let's say this whole thing is Nevi'im, Ksuvim, it's Ksuvim. I have here Tehillim, I have whatever, the Riyam, I have different things in here. And in the middle, I open up and I start reading the Megillah, because in those days everything was written down. Let's say you're supposed to read it now, but that's how it was. No good. Lo yatsa. Omar Rav lo yamar elod lo michasra umiyatra purta. Oh, I actually have, to show you exactly what this means. Here. So I have a little Sefer Torah. Was miyatra. If the klaf is different by here. So this is a Sefer Torah, right? Right here. And look at this. Oh. You see how this is a little different? By the Megillah, it's different. If it's different by the Megillah, it's kosher. If I show that it's different a different size, longer or shorter? This is shorter. But longer, okay. Don't tell my son. My 11-year-old son doesn't use this anymore. So it's Torah, it's fine. Say it. That's miyatra, or mechasra. Zog the Gemara. If it's different, where you read the Megillah, the klav is longer or shorter, it's kosher. Levi was reading the Megillah Aksuvim Ben Aksuvim. It had everything. It had nach. Amalei Hari Amro Hakori Megillah Aksuva Amud Beis. Hari Amro Hakori Megillah Aksuvim Ben Aksuvim Lo Yatsa. Omer Reb Chia bar Abba Omer Reb Yochanan. Yeah, so Lo Yatsa. And sponsored by Aaron Stroke, in honor of my parents Josh and Naomi Stroke, zechus Aaron ben Shimon HaKohen, and in honor of myself for all that I do. It's hard to be on here. Hard. I'm not trying. They bopped it on the head. In other words, they shrunk this halacha. You said, if you read from a parchment that includes more than the Megillah, you're not Yaitza. However, I'm going to qualify it. Bopping on the head is to qualify something. Take a hammer, whack it, shrink it down. No, it's only when you're Betzibur. You want to do a Persim Nisa, so it has to be its own Megillah. But by Yochid not. It needs a little bit of explanation. Shiur HaTefer Halacha L'Mishum Sinai. How much you leave. Look at this. Where's the tefer? How much do you leave from the top to the first point that you put the needle in? That's halacha mishum Sinai. You don't tie it all the way up here. You go down. If you ever saw Sefer Torah, look, there's a little bit. I don't want to ruin it. Here you go. See, it's open on top. That is halacha mishum Sinai. You don't sew that up. Umachala. And they bopped it on the head. Same halacha. It's not true. The whole point is that if I tie it to the top and I do glila and I go like this one day and it's tight, it's going to rip. There's a little give here. That little give is a svara. It's not halacha mishum Sinai. Sitkis. Moshe and Elio were Benikras Hatzur, says Rashi. They're both in the same cave that HaKadosh Baruch Hu went by over there. They couldn't see HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but he went by, whatever that means. If there was a tiny hole, the size of a needle hole, the light, whatever that means, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu go through that little hole, and there would be no longer. All these things. Here's a yisoid that we say it many times, and here's the Gemara. Everything that we learn in Gemara, this whole Sefer, Megillah, everything was given to Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai. The Gzeir Shabbos, everything, all the halachas, everything. We didn't make anything up. We're just repeating it. This is the Torah Sheba'al Peh. How do we know? Here. V'aleim kechol hadvarim, all the things. Asher dibar Hashem imachem bahar melamed shehero HaKadosh Baruch Hu leMoshe dikdukei Torah. Everything. All the dikdukim. In other words, the esim and the ribuyim and the miutim. There's a quick joke here. There's a big lamdin. He was nifter. He went up to Shemayim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu asked him. He said, "No, say over Dvar Torah." He says, "No, I don't have any Dvar Torahs, but I'll tell you what. You say a Dvar Torah, Hashem, and I'll slug it up." Okay, if you go to yeshiva, you know what I'm talking about. Fine. Zog the Gemara. Huh? There's another one. You want to hear the other one? There's a guy. Yeah, we have a lot of time. There's a guy. He went up to Shemayim, a big yeshiva, Lamdan, and he goes and he gives a whole pilpul in the Rambam. There's a stira from here to there, back and forth, but the Rambam is medayik like this, that whole pilpul. So they tell him, no, that's not the pshat in the Rambam. He says, it is the pshat. He starts arguing. They say, you know what? We'll bring this guy. So they bring a Rav. So the guy and the Rav says, no, it's not pshat. So he says, listen, with all due respect, he tells him, I went to the best Litvish yeshivas in the world. I was the top guy over there. You're a Sephardi Rav. What do you have a business? He says, I'm the Rambam. I wrote it. The point is, don't, yeah, okay. I didn't mess it up. I have that, but I don't want, you don't say it like that. No, you don't say lines like that in my shir. You're joking. The point is, don't judge a book by the cover. You might be talking to the Rambam. You're saying he's a Sephardi, he doesn't belong in the yeshiva. Fine. Zog the Gemara. You can say the joke afterwards. Okay. I bedafka.
Don't say it in the first place.
I have to say a joke like that. So we have Dikduk Soifrim. Dikduk Soifrim is what the later generations are medayik in the early generations. And what the future is going to hold. And what does that mean? Mikra Megillah. Even Akish Baruch Hu gave Moshe Rabbeinu the Mikra Megillah, and then Lefizeh you could say, Gzeir Shava was on Har Sinai. The official mission is sponsored Latzlachas Ruchni of Shimshin David Lipo ben Yehudas Beila, and Yosef Yehuda ben Yehudas Beila, and Yeshua ben Yehudas Beila. Hakol Cherim Likrois Es HaMegillah. Everybody can read a Megillah. Chutz Mecheresh. Now, how could a cheresh, in the Gemara's language, a cheresh is always a deaf mute. Somebody can't speak. So obviously we're talking about a person that doesn't hear, but could speak. Not the typical cheresh of Shas. Shaita, we all know what a shaita is. We're sitting next to one. V'katan, and a young child, we're sitting next to one also. Rebbe Yehuda Machshir, I wasn't talking about you. Seriously.
Why would I listen to what?
I said, no, everybody in this room, seriously. Now you're going to be all sensitive on me. I'm saying, everybody, Baruch Hashem, we're sitting on. Okay. Rebbe Yehuda Machshir, we are, I said. Rebbe Yehuda Machshir be katan. Rebbe Yehuda is Machshir with a katan. So, remember this. Rebbe Yehuda says a katan is okay. Man tana cheresh, and we're going to see in the Gemara the different times of a katan. Man tana cheresh, the eved nami loy. Omar master Rebbe Yosi. So we have like this. Oh, look at this. Oh, you're going to love this. Over here. We have a three-way machlokes. Green is 100% yaitza. Oh, hold on. So we're talking now, this is in Kriya Shema. Mashmiya la'aznov. If a guy says Kriya Shema and he just says the words, but he doesn't hear what he's saying. So we have a three-way machlokes. Remeir says 100% kosher, yaitza, and you can do it l'chatchila. That's how you can say Kriya Shema. Rebbe Yehuda says the middle shita, and Rebbe Yosi says the opposite. We always have that when we have three shitas. 100% good, 100% no good, and then we have the middle one. You shouldn't do it, but if you did it, you're yaitza. Says the Gemara. And then Rabbi Yisai, let me just show you this chart real quickly. We have 4 different things here. We have this exact halacha in 4 topics. Kriya Shema. Cheresh HaToyrem is a deaf, a person who's deaf but could speak, who makes the bracha on Truma. There's two cases, but we're not going to go there. Birkas Hamazon, saying Birkas Hamazon, but not being Mashmiel laws of not hearing the words. And Megillah, that's Negea to us today. Says the Gemara, Mantana Cheresh. Our Mishnah, that he can't hear himself. And by the way, because there's a lot of yeshiva guys, I want to ask a chakira for yeshiva guys. This halacha that you have to hear what you're saying is the pshat. You must hear yourself, or you have to say it loud enough that you could hear yourself. Meaning, and this is Negea to our Parshas Shavua. What if you are in a wedding hall and the music is blasting and you say Kriya Shema, you don't hear a word you're saying, but you're saying it loud. You know that if the music was off, you would hear. Or you're underwater, you're scuba diving, you're saying Ma'ariv, you're saying Kriya Shema. Yoitza, not Yoitza. So from this week's Parsha, we see Moshe Rabbeinu scream by the Tzvardeya, says the Sifsei Chachamim, because the noise was so loud, he had to overcome that noise. In other words, you have to hear yourself in all situations, even when there's loud music. Not just say it loud. Says the Gemara, that is Rabbi Yossi is over here. So our Tana that says that a Cheresh is not Yotza because he doesn't hear himself. Therefore he's not Yotza. As the Gemara reminded Rabbi Yossi, how do you know it's completely red? It's no good, no matter what, even after the fact. Perhaps it's the middle shita. It's the Mishnah is telling us, don't let a deaf person who could speak but can't hear read the Megillah. But if he did it, then you are Yotza. Maybe that's the pshat. A Cheresh is in the same level as a Shoyt v'Katan. Just like a Shoyt and a Katan, no matter what, even after the fact, you're not Yotza. So too, a Cheresh. As the Gemara, who told you? Maybe it's three categories. There's a Cheresh, there's a Shoyta, a Katan. Each one has different halachas. Just because you say it quickly together and it's in one Rosh Hashanah, that makes all the halachas the same. Look at the last words in the Mishnah. And I pointed it out then. Rabbi Yehuda is machshir in a Katan. Michlal the Reish Rabbi Yehudi. L'chayra, it's not Rabbi Yehuda. Rashi skips the next two lines. V'dilma kula Rabbi Yehudi. We'll just say, maybe just to make up for the other day that I missed a few words. V'dilma kula Rabbi Yehudi. Midam Reish Rabbi Sulam, same like Shat. V'dilma kula Rabbi Yehudi. Maybe the whole entire Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda. Utrei gavnik katan katanila. V'chsur mechsur. So the Mishnah is talking about two types of katanim, as we know very well from the rest of Shas. V'chitani. Hakol ksherim l'kishasam gila chus v'cher shoyta v'katan. What are the two categories? There's a katan, a gil chinuch, and a katan that's not. A katan that knows how to read the Megillah, and a katan that doesn't. That is the end of the Mishnah. The Rebbe says that a katan who's gil chinuch, he's already 10 years old, whatever the age is, he could read the Megillah. But the beginning of the Mishnah that says a katan cannot read the Megillah is talking about a 5-year-old. He should not be reading the Megillah. Have a wonderful day, a gavaldige Shabbos, Motzi Shabbos, 7:30. I did not mean you 100%. Sei gesund. For real.